I'm not religious, but I've confirmed that I'm babysitting the Antichrist and all his minions. Once you tell a kid, no, 100 times in a row, the little fucker gives up hope and stops asking for things. It's the best way to get them to bed early, and that's the trick to babysitting. I don't particularly like the task, but it's a convenient way to earn fast cash during odd hours while I save up for the transition to a 4-year college. I don't get emotionally attached or swayed by the kids, so I pick up an authoritarian edge quicker than most. The kids end up thinking I'm much older than 19, even though it's just 13 years past where most of them are now. Most kids don't faze me. Michael was different. Call me if you need me, his mom whispered while ducking out of the house. Wait, I called. What time does he go to bed? Does he have to, eat or something? Probably, she added before closing the door behind her. I turned slowly to look at Michael now that we were alone in the house. He was sitting in the middle of the living room floor, cross-legged, facing away from me and staring gleefully at something in his lap. I walked around him, instinctively leaving a wide berth, to see what occupied so much of his attention. He was gazing at nothing. A big smile plastered his face. Slowly, he turned his head around to look at me. I felt 7 distinct vertebrae freeze as we locked eyes. He licked his lips. Then he returned to staring at the floor. I hoped that he would get more normal as the night went on, which is a perfect example of when it's stupid to have hope. Do you miss Tovar? He asked a few minutes later. I froze. How do you know my dead cat's name? I hear him screaming, Michael answered. He doesn't remember your love. I tried to avoid Michael after that. Given my babysitting task, however, that proved impossible. At one point, I sat on the farthest corner of the living room couch. Rather than taking the hint, he lay down next to me and rested his head on my thigh. His hair was unnaturally cold. I tried to look away. I couldn't look away. I finally glanced at what he was doing. Charlotte's Web, I offered, noticing the book he was reading. That was my favorite book when I was your age. In fact, wait, why does that copy have a crease along the front cover in the exact same spot that mine did? I snatched the book from him and looked at the first page with trembling hands. My name was scrawled in my 8-year-old handwriting. Why do you have my book? It was just sitting on the top shelf of your closet for anyone to read. I called his mom at that point. She did not answer. I couldn't leave the little bastard alone, so I had to plow forward with the babysitting. I tried to stay far away from him. That didn't work. Can I have dinner? He actually tugged at my blouse like a Dickensian street urchin. Sure. What do kids like you eat? He took my hand and led me to the fridge. His skin was cold as ice. I'm not using that as a simile. There is no medical reason he should have been so frigid while still alive. He opened the fridge, and I wanted to vomit. Sitting at eye level was a transparent bowl of what was clearly blood soup. Several chunks were suspended in a viscous, crimson liquid. I think I saw a finger. I know I saw an eyeball pressed against the side of the bowl. I don't know how long I stood frozen there. The only fact of which I'm certain is that I was shaken from my reverie when something moved in the soup. I jolted. It was a fish. It was still alive. I closed the fridge. What's wrong? Michael asked. Open it again. There's nothing scary inside. He flashed a big smile. His teeth were very white. I tried to decide whether it would be more terrifying to see the bowl a second time, or to open the fridge and discover that it had disappeared. In the end, I decided that I didn't want to find out. I stepped away. Is something fishy? He asked. I left the kitchen, and I tried to stay away from him. I really did. I locked myself in the bathroom. But after 20 minutes, he was running around with such intensity that I knew I'd regret staying in place more than I would any hellishness if I went back out to confront him. Again, I was wrong. He had torn up the house in the intervening minutes. The broken vases I could handle. The bigger problem was that he had somehow gotten his feet covered in mud and run all through the house, leaving a huge mess in his wake. Michael, I yelled. Why in the hell did you? I followed the footprints, expecting to find him in the living room. But the prints led up the wall. My gaze followed their path despite my desire not to see. All the way to the 12-foot ceilings. Then they went into an office. I followed, horrified at what I might find and terrified to stay in place. I felt alone and watched. In the office, the dirty footprints moved across the ceiling. They led to a corner, where they stopped altogether. I suddenly had to get out of the room. I closed the door quietly behind me. I thought I was alone. I wish I'd been alone. It would have been less creepy. But Michael was standing there, waiting for me with a big smile. His teeth were stained red. I'm not hungry anymore. Neither of us moved for several seconds. I should call your mom, I explained in what I hoped sounded like a calm voice. He didn't step aside, so I turned around and called the number she had left me. It took several attempts because my fingers were shaking so much. I pulled the phone away as a high-pitched wail hit my ear. We're sorry. The number you called has been disconnected or is no longer in use. Goodbye. I knew that Michael was staring at me even before turning back around. I considered retreating into the office, but the door had grown unnaturally hot. Michael cocked his head. I hope you stay for a long time. I didn't like the last one. Then everything fell into place. I don't think that the woman I talked to was his mother. I don't think Michael has a mother. I would consider ditching him, but I'm sure he has a plan for that. I don't want to find out what he's willing or able to do. I know that I arrived a couple of hours before sunset, but the windows now only show a pitch black sky. The blood soup came from somewhere, and I'm guessing its contributors had neither the intent nor anticipation of becoming this hellion snack. I'm smart enough to be afraid at my lack of options. So, anyone want a babysitting job?